each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Frequency, time, space, all an aspect of who we are, what we are, and the uniqueness of the moment of now. Each and every being that has decided to come to this webcast is here as part of their ever-present, organic, co-creative moment of the now. This is Living the Mystical Life Daily. I want to say hi to everyone that's come to this webcast. In the chat room, we have a chat role. So go on and log on into the chat room. Put a name there. We are doing this as an ever-present, evolving, rolling way to communicate. So I want to say hi to Mystique, Teresa, Nikki, April, Alexandra, Alexander, Kyle, Hukahe, Sarah, Robin, Kay, Morgan, Mavi, Nathan, guest, William, Irki, Cosmic Clay, Jan, Swooping Eagle, BBRY, A. Bonista, Sarkis, Anna, Treva, Emanzia, Shea, and all those others who have not registered or logged in to the chat room. To all the guests that are welcome, welcome, welcome. As we begin our webcast, everyone has an opportunity to discover something new of what's coming into your frequency of what is your living the mystical life daily. Each and every day we choose to live, we engage the mystical as part of our experience. So many of you have been on this awakening process for so long, a form of complacency has come over you in waiting for the mystical to surprise you with aha moments. What I'm here to say, in the out loud name it to claim it system, you can begin to have those cyclical aha moments that become repetition with illumination. It just takes you as the self-discerning, sacred person in your own moment willing to go through the process of discerning yourself, hearing your own out loud voice. Now, recently I've had a conversation with a handful of people who were traumatized growing up. They were in a 3rd grade reading class and someone insulted them. They never believed that their voice was anything because their parents put them down each and every day, and they had a meek voice until they turned into a teenager or an adult and they discovered their inner voice. Or those that have been abused in very mental or physical or spiritual formats, that their voice is never heard, their opinions are never heard, and therefore they cannot use the out loud name it to claim it system. Each of those is a form of trauma, and is the exact reason why you should be using the out loud name it to claim it system. For it is what creates the counter frequency, so it is not a signature frequency match to continue to be a teacher in your karmic resolution process. For in the out loud process is your alchemical manifestation of your will. So many of the contract revocations and the healings that come from living the mystical life daily is about being able to use the knowledge to expand your knowingness. So fear is not the first choice before love. In one of the value videos that we have, that comes in the first of the sequence, you learn about the advanced heart meditation. That is a non-denominational way of expressing your form of unity from the fetus that began as a heart in your mother's womb, from where your stream of I am dream began before you became and came through the birth canal of the great forgetting. Each human being has that connection, separate of everyone else. It is your own compartmentalized, compressed code of celestial light that is saying, I am here now to work with this Earth Mother as a contract-resolving karmic being who is not here for karmic debt, but is here for resolution, I am not a debt-holding instrument. I am not a spiritual debt-holding machine spreading it to others. I am a mighty, organic, co-creative moment of the now being who can choose in all dimensions, time streams, galaxies, and universe to shove off the debt, get pulled off the weight of the shoulders that's holding us back, and to begin to dream the great dream of peace. What is peace? Peace comes in many forms. Sometimes it's emulated and sometimes it's emanated. What is your form of peace? And what is your advanced form of peace? When one takes tranquility as a archetypical concept and breaks it down to the structures, not just of its dictionary meaning, but of its personal meaning to you, tranquility is a higher form of peace. When you engaged your knowingness and your ability to turn off the programs sympathetic and parasympathetic, the distraction systems of this world, and you have tranquility. And within that tranquility is the access to the mystical that unites us in the great aha moments, that brings the unity of light within us. Your choice, each and every day, is to live mystically by allowing the light within you to be co-creating, whether it's the light from the sun or the light from the lights from the room. Your choice. Each is a point of view. Each is a perspective that only you can modify, change, alter, or do anything. Because it's not about what you think. It's truly about what you believe. We've learned about expectations, creating our limitations, and how we live in a world of duality. But in fact, we do not live in a world of duality. Our expectations have created that process on a whole new level. I want to welcome everyone to today's Webcast. I'm going to show you how to consciously apply the sacred art of living the mystical life daily as a part of the out loud, name it to claim it system. Many of you that are new here are wondering, what is that out loud, name it to claim it system? It's literally your out loud voice, using a form of perception and self-discernment. So you record yourself and then listen back to yourself and ask yourself the basic question: am I emulating, copying what I'm hearing, or am I emanating, knowing what I'm hearing? Am I in a discernment of myself, that the past self that created a legacy to the future me? Am I truly passing on the essence of the wisdom that is being spoken, being passed as the healing for the future being? I'm accepting my own love, my own co-creation, no matter what the voice sounds like, because we're taking back our power in each and every perspective, so we may have the unlimited point of view. In the unlimited point of view, we have whole new layers of expressing who you are, and what you can do in the mighty co-creative moments of the now. First thing I want to mention is that if you've not been able to do this in the past, not been able to record your own voice, it's okay. No shame, blame, or guilt. One of the reasons I put on these continuing webcasts is to engage people so they engage themselves, to pass on the emanation of self-illumination so that you can take it into your own home as a form of transforming light. Transformation and transcendence is nothing more than acceptance of a new phase of life. Just like before you learn to drive a car and after you learn to drive a car. It is no different in living the mystical daily life daily. What the aspect of change from before you learn to drive to after you learn to drive was awareness-based. You could no longer be off in your little world while driving a car because you didn't want to hurt somebody or get a ticket. Self-illumination is not much different. There are times in self-illumination we've got the pedal to the metal and we're driving at full speed and the music's going and a deer jumps out. A spirit deer, an innocent being, and we veer to the left or the right and we crash a spiritual car. That does happen each and every day. And this is why I want to help you understand that maintaining your sacred discipline will help you from crashing your car or the next spirit rabbit popping out when you're deciding to have that rebellious moment with the top down and the hair flowing in the wind. Because we all want that spiritually. We all have that in our dream world. But what we're trying to do is manifest it here, now, real. And I know other versions, other people out there have been here for quite a few webcasts, have been following my material for a long time. What are you going to learn? You're going to learn a different form of sacred discipline. You're going to understand my patterns, my frequencies, my ways to speak in between words, the codes of light that I have, that are there as a neutral perspective, as part of the unlimited point of view, that may spark your own fuel source, that is inspiration. Think of a sparker, flint and steel, passing on the sparks. You are the fuel. I am just the spark. What you do with your fuel, how fast you let it burn, how much you let it consume within you, is your choice. Oftentimes this information can overload people and keep you from your form of success, your expectation to success. I have been guilty of it also, giving away too much information and at times too little. I'm here to help you process and integrate. And if you've been concerned in the past that you just can't succeed without applying this on a daily basis, I want you to put those fears to rest now. See this as a rolling meditation teaching of a webcast so that you can find your fuel source and let a spark touch it. Or take out your own flint and steel from the words that are being heard and spark your own fuel source to self-illumination. Each and every day, you have choices. And I know others have told you that you need to go to India, be in a monastery or an ashram to find spiritual enlightenment and become your own self-illuminated master. I'm here to tell you that is their way, not yours. They have their own reasons why they want you to think that. But that's their truth. In living the mystical life daily, I encourage you to find your own authentic truth every moment, to use the forms of the teaching to write and rewrite them so you can find your own individuated signature frequency teaching of self-illumination. I've created coded and frequency light words that help you find the unlimited point of view. There's an unlimited amount of ways to find the unlimited point of view. And with that perspective, whether you're the most beginning of students, freshly awakened, or the most advanced, the unlimited point of view is the whole purpose of being here. It is the experience. We must remember that the I Am is here to experience through the instrument of the body, the instrument of the DNA, the experience. It does not matter if the experience is positive, negative, charged, or polarized in any way, shape, or form. It is how the I Am remembers it, how it accepts it or denies it, how it loves unconditionally versus conditionally, that lead into what? A life review. Physical daily life review, through the choices and actions, or the end of life review, in which we see all of our reflections, projections from external and internal. We all have parts of us that really don't want success. They want static, unchanging reality. That is our ego and our shadow. Now, many people ask me, what is the true difference between ego and shadow? Ego is the parasympathetic. The shadow is the sympathetic. There are times that the ego and the shadow trade positions to confuse us at what is ego and shadow. There are times the ego and the shadow create truces around certain subject matters to confuse us and distract us even more, so that we give more power away to the instrument and not the thing experiencing through the instrument. The thing experiencing through the instrument is us, the soul, the I Am, that is in technology called a DNA skin suit, that is an instrument of perception. There are all sorts of filters on our perception. I call these perception deception or perception inception filters. Now, a perception inception filter is how we choose to engage the mystical in an equal co-creation, non-competition, non-hierarchical format. Those words are a mantra of rejection of hierarchical order, competitional process, and all of those other things that do not allow us to be our own natural, co-creative, evolving being of DNA light, who is a single stream of unseamed energy, seamed together perfectly, seamed and unseamed, through all layers of time. For we are in unity with the law of one, and all other frequencies that understands that we are creating it all, that we are the dreamer in the dream, dreaming me and you dreaming me and everything dreaming all of us. So each day you get to let go of some form of global narrative distraction. And what is letting go of a global narrative distraction? Let's say it's no longer allowing commercials to have any relevance to your life. I grew up in a time where commercials were everywhere. Many people now are experiencing commercials when they want to play music on YouTube. Every song, to the point that it's distracting and disgusting, bringing up subject matters that are no longer creating the frequency of music that you want to listen to. 20 years ago, radio is what did that in an 8 to 10 to 11 minute or 19-minute cycle. That was how much time you had before your brain was interrupted by some form of distraction. So the challenge for here is, can you turn it off for 8, 11, or 17 minutes? Not allow the world of distraction. If a frequency of distraction appears in your mind, sometimes it comes up, sometimes it comes in, sometimes it's just an emanation around us, or it's a voice. There is where we must bring our humanity, our I am presence in the DNA technology into the heart, and begin to emanate out light. And say, whatever is a projection from the global narrative of distraction, I am rejecting you with such soul light force that you are returned to the original artificial creation, so that artificial creation become a natural creation. For I am a being of alchemy and transformation, and artificiality is not a part of my contractual exchange with the universal DNA sources. That is a way to see yourself in a new frequency. It will be your own due diligence to yourself to be the observant enough to see the program at action, to see the emanation or the energy that's beginning to change you, so you can take an action, a heart-based I am action that engages the I am sacred neutral self to begin to say no to the frequencies of distraction that have all these other subject matters compressed within the distraction, to take you away from your sacred co-creative right to be in communion and union with the source here now. Take that in. Process. My goal for this webcast is to help the two types of people I talked about. The beginners and the advanced. The beginners, you will learn to understand what it takes to learn conscious application of the sacred and what it truly means in daily life changes. The most minimal form of living the mystical life daily is to say, I'm using conscious application of the sacred to separate what is recreational and what is sacred. That is the most basic form of living the mystical life daily. How much you apply it to your daily life will be your choice, your discipline, and your sacred honor to yourself to create change. So if just once per day you have said, I'm making conscious application of the sacred, I am making this a sacred recreational moment, allowing myself to have the fullness of joy without the distraction of programs stealing my joy. And give yourself half hour, 5 minutes, 5 seconds. You have completed an oath to yourself and said that I will continue to heal myself by understanding the difference between what is recreational, what is sacred recreational, and what is sacred learning. Just by beginning to do that daily, you will build up your spiritual endurance to those tidal waves of forces and emotions of this world, both positive and negative, that are still leading you away from self-healing, self-nurturing. For that is the most important thing anyone can do to heal this Earth Mother at this time, is to be a healer of the self, so you can begin to learn to heal others, be it by voice, music, poem, picture, artwork, or whatever else should find your infinite, unlimited creative point of view that should connect to others and bring change within them that shows them the divinity course within themselves. Now, for those of you who are more experienced with my teachings, you will learn a more deeper understanding of the ability to see your old shells, your limitations, perception, deceptions, and inception filters. Everything that is living the mystical life daily is understanding about perception, deception, and perception inception filters. An inception filter is you in sacred discipline who's practiced conscious application of the sacred long enough to know that I must maintain through my spiritual muscles a form of endurance that says I can maintain my sacred discipline no matter how much frequency of time is passing through me, no matter what the distraction force is coming at me, whether it's a solar eclipse, an earthquake, or your grandma's farting in the next room. Whatever the distraction is a distraction from your sacred discipline to say, I am in my self moment, creating my bubble of reality, stopping distraction with borders, rules, boundaries, and policies that I honor. That is your choice. Each human being must be able to see their shells and limitations. We do this through a form of discernment. For those of you who have been experienced, have recorded the advanced heart meditation, have done the shaman's death, that have done the sanctuary of all souls, how often do you process those? Hear your voice, discern your voice, and what form of healing have you passed on to yourself? Engage your sacred hindsight, for that is a form of perception also. There are times some of the greatest self-deceptions is not allowing us to have hindsight, seeing how much one thing or a handful of things or a bunch of things have actually changed us, created spiritual discipline as a muscle that's been exercised, that has force here now. That is what the most experienced people are going to understand. And for the new ones, the same message applies to you. You are using spiritual muscles that have not been exercised in a very long time. You will pull a spiritual muscle. You may do some damage. It's okay. The key here is to not be traveling 10,000 miles an hour in every spiritual process that you're doing. Slow down and enjoy the scenic journey. This is why so many people have no vision, no third eye experience, because their perception and their expectation is superluminal thinking with perfect processing. That only comes with discipline, the ability to slow the experience down, process the information, engage hindsight now so we can see what our limitations or shells are from stopping us from having the next aha moment or deceiving ourselves to give away power to someone else to do it for us. Okay, I think we are going to take our first call. Washington, D.C. Are you there?
Yes, I'm on.
Hey, what is your name?
My name is Sarkis.
Sarkis, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. What about yourself?
I am doing good. I'm having a really good webcast. So what are your questions for the Living the Mystical Life Daily webcast?
Well, I think I have one question real quick. This is more like on the Galactic plan. I don't know if you can help me tell me a little bit about Vulcan and Mercury and what is their role in our drama in general.
So you're talking about the planet Vulcan or the gods?
The planet itself.
There are hundreds and thousands of celestial sources that affect our, let's just say, astrology pattern. A celestial mind creates its own celestial children, adopts celestial children that come to it via star travel or refugee process. Now, there are times that planets or celestial frequencies become a collective or a star cluster And there are times that collective has issues within itself, and it breaks up and forms 3, 4, or 5 collectives. So what you're referring to is a scenario where a group of star clusters as a single collective consciousness broken to several dozen are now trying to reorganize into several dozen to a handful, 3 or 4. And there is a battle in the hierarchical system of belief of what archetypical processes those planets are going to bring to the collective. And those individual compartmentalized planets have their own frequency of unique teaching to their children, do not want to go through the imprinting of what the other collectives are trying to say to conform to. Each of their collective celestial processes must be uncompartmentalized. The mythos of history that has been created by non-children of that world. So much of the celestial process is so misunderstood because astrology was distilled into but a handful of planets instead of to be allowed the unlimited point of view of all celestial processes, nurturing their children and refugees and bad children in different ways, as to teach them their service and light. Now Vulcan, and I'm pushing the grounds here, it's not a single planet. It is actually like a litter of puppies that were born several 100 million years ago. So humans have this perception of single birth, and we imprint that onto our celestial sources, when in fact there are celestial sources that can give birth to 200 planets at once. They are not limited to our creativity or perception in any way. So the Vulcan you are individually signature of reference speaking to is going through a process where some of its litter mates or womb mates are beginning to die off. Their light is no longer emanating in galactic or universal time. The frequency of celestial light has gone out. Their version of death. They are in their version of astral world. Now, some of these Vulcan litter beings have chosen not to go to their version of the light at the celestial scale, so they are ghosts. And they are influencing and imprinting upon our time, trying to use old frequencies of dense light to lure us through past life connections to allow the glory of their frequency once again light in our emanation of time through our memories. And they are still ghosts at their scale. And that is a form of stepping on our journey. And we must begin to lovingly pass over those frequencies that try to come in and, yes, at times lift up our spirit with their light. But we must acknowledge their time of light has ended, and they are now projecting forward in time where their light doesn't exist. We must pass them over as ancestors, ancestral celestial spirits of a bygone era of light when we were a different I am in a different unity frequency. Their message is their message. And our message back is pass on. Go to your light. Find your celestial brothers and sisters in the great ever after, searching the great stars and beyond. That's my answer for that.
Thank you so much. I think I did find a lot of insight, and it does make sense. I really get like a deep understanding of what you're saying.
Thank you.
And maybe staying in the same field, you usually talk about solar code, where our soul family need to complete the solar code, but what it is actually that the solar code?
So a solar code or a soul code, it means that a stream of light that is your soul frequency houses all of your I ams simultaneously living and existing in other light sources. So your stream of light can come in and hit a sun, be refracted to planets on a microscale, and your stream of light goes on to another sun and refracted into another set of planets. Thousands and millions of suns everywhere giving you simultaneously existence. A soul code represents where you have been in experience, past, present, or future. Your stream of light has access to every aspect of place that you live, which is giving you the collectives of soul codes in the places that you've experienced light. There are times where the stream of consciousness has bumps in the roads or creates avatar pieces to go off and resolve stuff, and it will gain soul codes it has not shared with the original stream of light. This is this reunifying ourselves with the law of one to be in source connection, sharing all the codes of light. When we came here to live on Earth, it was our best avatars who represent a macro I am that functions on a much bigger scale to come in here and begin assembling all the codes of where we lived at and begin to engineer it in a DNA lineage we could repeatedly live in over and over again to store as many soul codes as possible. There were nefarious perceivers of reality who said, well, I can trade soul codes like this, which became DNA engineering, which created timeline genocide, which created a frequency of mass resolution of karma on a universal scale. So that's what soul codes are. They are the actual reason there was an uncreational event, and they're the actual reason we as a species are having an awakening on a universal scale that's going to put us in a universal awareness and a central frequency of a planet that will return to a seventh density potential to seed new life in whole new galaxies. To us, to be our own DNA engineers of our own body, mind, soul, and spirit, and what we choose to co-create with. For coming here to Earth as part of the original process that Earth invited souls, her pledge and promise and contract vow with you was to say when this space of spaces is done and the universal change has been done, each of you will have an infinite space within my celestial dream space to have light of creation and co-creation to create life. 1 trillion trees, 1 trillion fish, a massive ocean that can then be transported from your infinite space and celestially grafted on a new world where you can then be a life procreator, a founding being with another celestial source, going forward with a new creation, maintaining the reality, astral, inner, and surface, passing on the torch of eldership to those that would choose to live on that new world.
Awesome.
Yes.
That's more than complete.
You're welcome, Sarkis. It's good to hear from you again. We're going to move on to the next caller.
Okay, next caller is Paul from Arizona.
Paul from Arizona, are you there?
Andrew.
How you doing today?
Oh, sir, how you doing? Great show so far.
Thank you. So what questions do you have for Living the Mystical Life Daily?
I might just follow on from the last caller there. Just touched on the astrology, and I know you mentioned it, and I've been paying more attention to the birth chart and stuff like that. Is that a good way to go for, overcoming or...
No.
Again?
No. I am not a big believer in astrology. And part of this webcast is not about what you think, it's about what you believe. And we just talked about celestial imprints, both that had some negative processes to it. The astrology books have only given us a small slice of history that are trying to juxtapose the truth of those celestial imprinting. There are certain aspects of astrology that truly connect to people in that moment, and that is what they believe in. But part of the greater system here is everyone is true. Everything is true if you believe it. And we're going to come to a grand crashing of consciousnesses where everyone goes, aha, you're true, I'm true, and if I judge anyone, it makes myself untrue. That is a form of consciousness awakening. It's the consciousness slap upside the head we contracted ourselves to get.
Yeah.
So from you, I think it's more important for you to define what is sacred recreation and what is regular recreation. giving yourself permission to fully feel both sides. And if you want to use astrology as recreation, understand that that recreational energy has an unseen world behind it that millions use, millions empower with, and it's okay to touch that water. We just misuse our discernment of, does this truly apply to my frequency now? For I am not putting astrology down. I am just defining my rules, policies, and procedures. There are times that I do have an astrological reader because it's the reader I believe in, not the system. Okay? There are certain systems within astrology or tarot that I have my own personal, grinding sandpaper with because of the perspective of limitations they bring forward.
Yes, I see, yeah.
And then there are other teachings like the I Ching. That's something you could practice 6 to 7 times a day. And for those of you out there that have 3, 4, or 5 systems, if you want to really challenge yourself, pick 3. Let's say you have a card system, an I Ching, and a rune stones. You put those 3 together, and you use them every day. Like, draw one from another, and one from another, and begin pattern association. One system says this, one system says this, one system says this. And drawing of all 3 at the same time and reading what each one done, you've made the most basic form of pattern recognition. Because it's in pattern recognition that you will discover the greater version of yourself. What patterns are coming to you? Are you looking at monthly patterns? Or are you actually a person that understands daily patterns so that the monthly patterns are more deeply understood?
Yeah, I mean, I try and pay attention daily for sure. And then the monthly things are definitely popping up now,
So what do you do for a job?
Well, I'm actually just going to, I'm moving back to the UK from here, and we want to start a Reiki practice and permaculture farm on some land in the UK.
Okay. So what made you want to do a farm?
Just getting away from the programming in the loops and having to rely on other people to feed me or supply this or supply that. And before that, I was doing the sacred geometry mandalas.
Mm-hmm. So when you are a Reiki practitioner or a healer of any form, you are still relying on others to find you for healing. And that is something, that's why I asked about your job. It's something that you are going to face, because I get a lot of people that tell me that they want to go and do permaculture and healing. And a month later, a year later, they get nowhere. Because you are now relying on yourself more than you've ever had to rely on yourself. It is only you that's going to weed. It is only you that's going to make sure that it's organic. It's only you that's going to sell it. It's only you that's going to package it. It's not going to do, only you are going to cook it and only you are going to eat it. And only you are going to put effort into it. And the same goes to your healing. My advice to you is to cut one out. Don't do both. Okay? If you really want to grow, put your allness into growing. And Reiki is what you do as your beautiful recreation within it. You give Reiki to your plants and your food and so on. And when you have more time, more effort, more energy, and more security in your life, you become a healer of others. Or vice versa. You give up the farm idea, and yes, that means you got to live in the city where the people are that can provide you enough income to become a healer at a different scale. Meaning you can do 20, 30, 50 in a month. Because that is what it's going to take to survive. Let's say you're doing 70 euros or 80 euros for a healing. Guess what? That's 10 per month to make 800. You can't live on 800 euros per month, can you? No. Okay? That means you need 30 per month.
Going about 4 or 5 a day, don't you, really?
Correct. And how do you market yourself to get 4 or 5 a day? How do you stay in discipline enough to not hurt your own spiritual muscles? This is why I created Living the Mystical Life Daily. For people to build the spiritual endurance, to do what it is they love with the fullness of their spirit in it. So if they choose to be a healer, a gardener, a singer, a musician, or whatever it else, they have their fullness of spirit behind it. So what level of Reiki have you gotten to?
We've got a master symbols.
Okay. How long did it take you to learn?
We did it over about 6 months.
Very good. There are a lot of people that, they take a Reiki class and then they discover, 6 months later what they were taught was far less than what Reiki really is. But that's an issue with the industry itself.
Agreed.
So
yeah, no, our teacher's pretty good, and she's I would say she's got some good connections in high places like yourself, so to speak.
Beautiful. Did you learn about sending treatments forward in time to like remote treatments?
Not through time. I didn't even give it a. Didn't even catch that vibe. Didn't even catch me yet, but makes sense.
You learned how to
learn about that.
You learned about how to do a remote treatment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there is where some of the aspects are not fully translated. When you are doing a remote treatment, it is not in that moment. You can actually set it up to go forward in time. So part of the Reiki healing board is it's a teaching that's integrated. You have the spirit board where people can give healing through the Reiki system. That is sending treatments forward in time to a person that's agreed to have their name on that board. That same aspect, when you are creating a treatment for remote, you can set it up so you've already gotten the approval from the person to do a remote treatment on. That's absolutely vital. You cannot do a healing on anything that does not have a form of approval, and you can't just look up in the sky and say, Spirit says that I'm allowed. That's fucking bullshit. Anyone that's out there. If a being does not want you to do it, it is the greatest form of offense to that being to do that to them. That is Shadow Master. Okay? So you get that permission, and you set it up so that when the being wakes up, just before they go to sleep, before their morning coffee, what you feel is the best thing, and then you try to send them a message or have them send you a message back when they feel the treatment coming through. Okay? However you set up the form of communication, that there's a confirmation of affirmation that the treatment was done and the treatment's been received, whether they feel nothing or not doesn't matter. That is sending treatments forward in time. You can also send treatments backwards in time. So when a client comes to you and you do one treatment, that is the limitation of doing one treatment. You are an infinite multidimensional being that can, ahead of time, knowing full well a client's going to be on your table at 3 p.m., and that client is having specific issues that are a little bit challenging, that you do a treatment and send it forward in time, so the second that he sits on the table, there's already one complete treatment there before your hands have fully engaged him.
Makes sense.
Now, I have times when I do like the preparation for the live event that I'm doing, I have already sent treatments to the first being that will be me on stage. I've already sent 40-something treatments, full-on treatments to myself. The same to the first being that's sleeping the first night, the one that's leaving my home to go and stay at the hotel for the first night. There is a whole train all the way before the event, during the event, every moment of the speech that I'm going through that has moments that I know that I will. My first sip of water on the stage, the last moment before the first night is done, so on and so forth. I have treatments aligned for myself. Why? Because that is my level of responsibility to my own awareness, that I'm going to be having hundreds of people from around the world coming to learn the next level of living the mystical life daily. It's a lot to take in.
Just letting it sink in. Thank you. I'm grateful, Appreciate you, Andrew. We'll stay in touch.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. What do we got here? So here's one from Morgan. Hi, Andrew. Can you talk about specifics around saging homes, creating a bubble around our home? What should we say and do through the house and bedrooms? Should we open windows? Should we do it specific day of time? How do we create a bubble of golden light around our homes and light in our bodies? That's a really good question. Now, I've touched this subject many, many times. So each teaching is a signature frequency of the moment teaching. So for this expression, what is saging the home? It is, in a sense, you holding a wand of bound plants that have been dried, that have been sold, that you have received, that you have exchanged energy for, that you are then engaging your sacred belief system, so that conscious application of the sacred means something to you, that sacred disciplines have been engaged, and you are beginning to send energy to this dried process that's here to engage your sacred belief. And then you're going to spread the energy. So you've got it lit, it's smoking, go around the house, spend a few minutes going around the house, and then find some form of bowl. What I do is I get a big bowl, something like this crystal bowl, healing bowl here. I'll fill it up with salt all the way to the top, so it's very deep, Epsom salt, whatever, and then stick my sage wand in the center, kind of like this. And it doesn't fall over. The salt absorbs everything. And you set this in a place of the house that the smoke stream can go up. Observe the stream. Is it all over? Is your mind saying that's just the patterns of wind in the room, or is that the energy? So place it, different spaces in the house, and watch. Does it go straight up, meaning the energies are good in that area? Or is there something in the frequency there that needs clearing? Now, there is a relation to how much smoke versus how much clearing. My view, my perception for the density of energy that I live in, with an audience that's all over the world, I get it smoky enough that you couldn't see me through the cameras, or it would just be an outline. That is my choice, my level of empowerment to my level of awareness. I have also turned off my fire alarms and smoke alarms to be able to do that. That is my choice. For you, you have to allow some haze in the room. That haze will make a layer, and in that layer you can observe, is there energy moving around that I can see just within the smoke? The more you let smoke create a haze, the more you allow it in there, the more it begins to reveal. Now you're asking, windows open, windows closed. Close all the windows. Close down the whole house. Put down all the windows and drapes. Block out as much so that the house is holding the smoke, which is the embodiment of your prayers. Once the energy of the sacred belief system's engaged and the smoke is beginning, this is where the out loud name it to claim it system imprints upon the smoke your intent to clear, bring in clarity, to bring in the golden light so that it saturates every atom and frequency of your bubble of reality in which you sleep, in which you take your morning constitution, your showers, you love your children, you have recreational time in which you are with your husband, so on and so forth. Those are where your prayers are meant to be, embedded into that energy so nothing seeps through and makes your kid grumpy or does something to the husband or makes the dog an asshole. Okay? All of the energies are there for you to see when you begin to stir it up with the smoke. This is called the great smoking mirror, the mirror of self-reflection, the soup of your creation or miscreation. When it's the soup of your creation, you can reach into it and go, a shrimp. I like it. When it's your soup of miscreation, you pull it up, it's a lump of coal. And that's where you've got to filter out the lumps of coal and say, I don't want those in my environment. It is too dense of an energy that I want in here. I have children here. The next process is, so you go through the bedrooms, get as much smoke in every aspect of the house as you can. Now, for those of you that have partners that are super smoke sensitive, you can go and buy incense sticks instead of wands and put one in each room, and each incense stick burns between 8 and 11 minutes. That's just about enough to make a haze in each room. Again, personally, I could have 3 to 4 wands going in here, filling the house up. Do I recommend you all to try that? Absolutely, I do, so that you can understand the difference between volume of smoke, belief system in it, versus a little amount of smoke with a whole bunch of belief system in it. It's how much you truly put into it. And when you take that next level, it's how often should you do it? My personal view is like cutting the lawn. When it begins to grow, cut it down. Sometimes it's 3 days, sometimes it's 7 days, sometimes it needs to be every day because the kids are this and that's that. Now I said windows closed. After you've smoked the heck out of it, you've done your prayers, you go outside, you close the door, and just walk around the houses and the energy and try to feel the house. And then when you're done, you open the front door, you open all the windows, and you get back out and you watch the color of smoke. Okay? If you're using sage wands, it should be coming out virtually pure white. This is where some people have some unusual visions, where the smoke comes out yellow, gray, moldy, or black in it. And there is where you get truth of how much you've actually alchemized out of your house. Watching the level of smoke. That is the bigger reason of why I engaged more volume of smoke. Because I did my prayers in it. Now I'm using my discerning self to open that front door and to be at an angle where I can watch all the thick, dense smoke come out of the house, the colors that are in it, because it reveals what might still be there for me and my awareness to take over and be aware of, and maybe do another saging ceremony a few days later, or heck it, close up the house, smoke the shit out of it, and come back 6 hours later where there's still a haze in the house, but the house has absorbed another big giant wand of smoke during its whole time. That's what I do. So everyone here, again, has opportunity of any individual seconds. So I'm going to answer another question from the chat room. What diet do you recommend in order to maintain this light body, light frequency? I occasionally consume meat due to my blood type O, and of course also due to the natural composition of the human body designing mostly protein. Find myself at times fighting against the molecular structure of my physiology where I can go to a certain length of time without animal protein. Please advise. So last webcast I had an answer about veganism and vegetarianism and an understanding that it's a balancing of protein no matter what it is that you're using. You always must be able to balance all forms of protein within yourself and all the different aspects of you that are here in the moment. You're asking, what is the best source? It's how much protein you're going to give yourself. Now, in most cases, you need a minimum of 40 grams of protein so that the body's metabolism is out of survival mode. And this is for both men and women. Now, there are many people that are diet uncertain, and this is really where you're at. You're not certain if you should go all organic vegan, something in between, still have meat and fish, so on and so forth, versus saying, all right, I can pray over my food and change it, and it's just as good because it's my belief. So in your food uncertainty, you are having programs that are creating tugs of war. Meat, no meat, this, that. My advice to you is eat what you want, but make sure you are maintaining 40 grams of protein. Best advice is a smoothie in the morning that has the 40 grams of protein, or 20 in the morning and 20 in the afternoon, and figure out how well you can eat. Because once you get the body out of survival mode, meaning it has guaranteed protein every day for more than 30 days, all of the survival programs of the adrenal gland shut down, you get adrenal gland control back, you're out of fight or flight and most of the hard choices because your stomach is running it because you have no real protein. There is where you can say, well, let me look at vegetarianism. Do I cook well at it? How long is it going to take me to learn to make recipes that are incredible? There are alchemical cooks out there that can make something that looks like Oreo cookies, exactly like an Oreo cookie, except it's made out of all natural, vegan, vegetarian products. Could you eat that? Could you make that? Can you become your food alchemist? If so, begin to make the transition, but allow yourself to have the unlimited point of view that you are going to want to have some forms of protein that isn't a smoothie, that isn't liquid. And you have to determine what's in your belief system. Is a fish any more alive and sentient than the vegetables that you're eating? When in actuality, the fish is already dead, and that vegetable you're eating its consciousness. Yes, I'm getting the boos, the hisses, and the ha's. Well, that's your zealotism in point of view. Reality is they're both alive and dead, both here as service to us. They wouldn't be here if they didn't. We are also service to them. That plant that you're eating is sharing your experience in life. And when it decides to reincarnate as a human or incarnate as a human or something else, it is taking our experience of our joy or not joy of eating us as part of their light view of how to apply. Well, maybe I just need an experience of service, so I'm going to be a carrot. 25 carrots in a row, or another one that wants to be a chicken. To understand what that is, cannot judge others. So the best form of maintaining the body is finding the 40 grams of protein every day so the body goes out of survival mode, so the adrenal glands aren't running you, so the medulla oblongata rests and the rest of the consciousness of the brain can engage the sacred at the mystical level. Paso Robles, California. How you doing today?
Hi, this is Nikki.
Hi, Nikki. How you doing today?
Well, I'm good. It's been miserably hot here, and I find myself really being affected by the heat.
It's going to be 104 degrees here today, too.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it was 109 day before yesterday. So.
Ugh.
Yeah, and humid, wet, and we're overcast, which is a blessing, and we had rain yesterday, which brings me to my question. I talked to you, I don't know, I guess in July, about the death of my son, Ian. And so my daughter is having a baby in October, which will be my first grandchild. And I just wanted to ask about
Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I'm
just tearing up. Sorry.
Trying to formulate this into a question.
It's okay.
So I felt a really profound shift with his crossing over in my own self. I don't know that I can really explain it, but a lot has changed in 1 month. And so my connection to this child coming in, I'm having such difficulty with the death and the birth, and I'm trying to I have a real conflict about people coming into this experience right now, which is none of my business. I understand that, but I have these beliefs about the challenges and the difficulties, and so it's been really hard for me to embrace.
Okay, so I have a way to help you. So what I want you to do is repeat after me. What I'm going to do is read the frequencies of the past, the present, and the future and help you get to a form of resolution. This is a form of discernment process that I have done many times on air and with myself, and it's something that people can practice on themselves. So just repeat after me. I, in this ever-present moment,
I, in this ever-present moment,
choose to acknowledge the charge and polarity
choose to acknowledge the charge and polarity
of my son passing on,
my son passing on,
and a new child coming in.
And the new child coming in.
Me being a grandmother.
Me being a grandmother.
With the missing of my own child.
with the missing of my own child.
I now acknowledge this tug of war.
I now acknowledge this tug of war
And release all tugging.
and release all tugging.
I end this game.
I end this game
And I make this statement to all perceptions.
and make a statement to all perceptions.
We cannot compete in this life,
We cannot compete in this life,
for it is not our natural process to compete.
for it is not our natural process to compete.
Yet each and every one must be in competitional order,
That each and every one must be in competitional order,
part of the pecking order of the hierarchical order.
part of the pecking order or hierarchical order.
I now return that point of view
I now return that point of view
to those who chose to incarnate with me.
to those who chose to incarnate with me.
I am not responsible
I am not responsible
for the choices you have made or will make.
for the choices that you have made or will make,
So that we can remain in unconditional love,
so that we can remain in unconditional love,
without saboteur energy,
without saboteur energy,
mine or yours,
mine or yours,
distorting our unconditional love.
distorting our unconditional love.
I know in my heart of hearts,
I know in my heart of hearts
I am a being of unconditional love.
I am a being of unconditional love.
I bring forth my son that has passed,
I bring forth my son that is past,
empower his image with light.
empower his image with light.
I bring forth the future child still in womb,
Bring forth the future child still in womb,
so they may communicate,
so they may communicate,
so my son may pass to the future child his story,
so that my son may pass to the future child his story,
so that he may not make this, so the child may not make the same mistakes
so that she may not make the same mistake
as the grandmother shaman.
as the grandmother shaman.
I have done my due diligence,
I've done my due diligence,
connected the past and future generations
connected the past and future generations
in a single moment of time,
in a single moment of time,
so they may exchange sovereign soul codes
so they may exchange sovereign soul codes
in their own sovereign way.
in their own sovereign way.
I am not the medium of karma
I am not the medium of karma
between them.
between them.
I am the instrument of experience.
I am the instrument of experience,
And in my instrument
and in my instrument
is my DNA I am present self,
is my DNA I am present self,
who is aware
is aware
that this world is harsh
that this world is harsh
and gorgeously beautiful.
and gorgeously beautiful.
The dichotomy of the two
The dichotomy of the two
is hard to understand.
is hard to understand.
I now pass on to all of my soul family essence
I now pass on to all of my soul family essence
what it took to live in this life
what it took to live in this life
as a legacy
as a legacy
to all of my past, present, and future selves.
to all of my past, present, and future selves.
What it took to be a mother and grandmother.
What it took to be a mother and grandmother.
What it took to be me.
What it took to be me.
In all of my forms, both good and bad.
In all of my forms, both good and bad.
This legacy of the self.
This legacy of the self.
I build a wing in my hall of the victories.
I build a wing in my hall of the victories.
That reminds each and every being
It reminds each and every being
of the victory of what it took
of the victory of what it took
to be here in the now.
to be here in the now.
Both the spirit of physicality
Both the spirit of physicality
and non-physicality.
and non-physicality.
Oh,
Amen.
how are you feeling?
Oh, well. Thank you so much.
You're at a moment of accepting a legacy. Okay? A legacy of yourself. It's important you begin to tell your story. Okay?
Yes.
To spirit, what it took.
Journaling, writing,
Yeah.
storytelling.
That's right.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Andrew.
You are so welcome. You take it easy.
Mm-hmm.
My remote died out again. The uniqueness of experiences that we get here at the Living the Mystical Life Daily Studio. So we're just going to clear out some energies here just a little bit. We had a unique moment to use self-discernment here. Now, what I do as a specific skill when I'm reading a person and doing that repeat after me process, I'm actually looking at their programs, both sympathetic and parasympathetic, and finding the juxtaposed frequency, the upside down, inside out point of view that the program, shadow, or ego is using, and creating a counter frequency to it. As you can see through the evolution of that, it was bringing her to the sovereign expression of herself, her story of what it took, what is the responsibility that we have to each of ourselves, plus the concept of not wanting to have a future child here because this world is so fucked up. But it is also gorgeously beautiful if we choose to engage ourselves at the next level. When we begin to use spiritual hygiene at a new level, we get whole new levels of experience with us. All these different levels of experience out there are waiting for you to come and experience them. Now, many people have had insights here. So I'd like people to go and use the chat room and put on some of your insights, what you experienced through that caller, what you felt as we were going through the repeat process. Did any of you tear up? I did. For that is when I know in the empathic level that we are beginning to get to the core issue of what the conflict and tug of war in the programs is about. There is where we can make mystical discernments of ourselves. The things we will not say out loud, because if we did, we'd have to heal them. Heal what is going on within us, bringing tranquility to a moment. That is another thing that I experience as part of the repeat process. Passing on the tranquility of what it took as an individual being to emanate the expression of resolution of karma in all dimensions, time streams, galaxies, and universes, to offering that being the unlimited point of view without any limitations to stop it or from processing that form of healing. We can choose to engage at that level at a whole new way when we choose to learn at the most basic level, sacred application, conscious application of the sacred, consciously applying sacred or not sacred, recreational, non-recreational, beginning to make that separation of density-based choices. Every day is an opportunity to live the daily, mystical life daily. The power of choice is great and grand, and your true legacy to yourself, to use in your awareness, syncopated with your presence. This blueprint makes it easier and simpler because it will change your perspective and give you a fresh point of view of how you perceive your reality. Not only has this worked for me, but it's worked for thousands of others. Since the time that I came out, I have been promoting living the mystical life daily as an actionary process. You are here now because you're wanting to understand. What are these secrets of self-illumination? What can I do to make my experience better? What is going on in my unique frequency that needs more illumination or less illumination? We've talked about expectations, creating limitations. So here's one of my expectations. We have an engaged chat room, a question that's been asked to it. What is your experience of that process we just went through with the callers? Can you engage now? Even the people that will be watching this video a month from now, can you go and engage that chat room that is always there for the people that are coming to these Living the Mystical Life daily webcasts? It's an endless role. You do have a point of view. It does change the world. Can you engage? Can you engage and say, this is my sacred point of view from discerning what I heard? Engage it. One of my unique experiences, I was asked about why people don't practice. And I had made a statement, and at the moment that I said it, I thought it was bombastic, but actually it wasn't. It was so stingingly truthful about our people. The taste of success is sour to so many people because they cannot tell the difference between sour yogurt or flavored yogurt. Because they are so young in sense of mind, body, and spirit and experience that they are not ready for the sweetness of sour or the sour of sweetness. Wine tries to do this with dry versus not dry, so on and so forth. Tries to convey this message of sickly sweet to sickly sour, or sweetie sweet to super sweet, to sugar sweet to essenceary sweet. Giving yourself the opportunity. Expectations create our limitations. Yet we live in a world of duality. What is duality? You were in a womb, not in duality, as a singular being, with full contact with your spirit frequencies. Then you went through the womb and began to forget who you were. You went from infinite to encoded finite. Infinite encoded into finite. So the infinite point of view is still within you, but you must learn to use the DNA technology so that you can go through the forgetting and the remembering of the great and beautiful you that is there. That is why there is a duality here. In that duality is the dream experience. Last week I was asked, what about those people that, dream the good life, that are rich and middle class and have the 3 kids and white picket fence and die a beautiful life? They chose that. You chose a form of awakening that was teaching you about lack versus success. That being chose that, and it doesn't make them any lesser or greater than anyone else. It just meant that their previous lifetime said that I must balance out this lifetime. I want to go in it fat and stupid. Okay? I'm spiritually fat and stupid. Doesn't matter. We that are the early awakeners chose this early awakening. We're in a culture and a concept that would reject us with such force, they would demonize us. Or worse, make us irrelevant. That is what every one of you battles with every day, being relevant to this world. What is relevancy to you? Meaning the duality is successful. This world is more relevant to you. Therefore, it's a duality. For those that want to remember the dreams and truly put the sacred discipline, the dream world becomes relevant for you when you stop distracting yourself with instant gratification. The dream world, it is that simple to get access to your dream world. That's simple, but it's one of the hardest things to do, is to make this world truly irrelevant and yet relevant for the subject matter that is needed for you to be successful so your dreams manifest through you. For we cannot go through the pendulum of this side to this side, and the pendulum has everything in between. We must balance everything. It's not about what you think. It is truly about what you believe. Okay. I think I want to take one more caller.
Next caller will be from Martinez, California.
Martinez, California. Are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hey, your name?
Robert.
Hi, Robert. How you doing today?
Good, Andrew. I spoke with you last week, and I was being respectful, not calling in within 30 days, but you mentioned you had no callers, so hopefully I'm not disrespecting.
That's fine. So what do you want to talk about?
Okay, Andrew, I haven't been eating meat for 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And I've probably had a handful of meat in the last 3 years. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned protein. And I've been on that journey to get more protein. And I've been questioning myself, should I start eating meat again?
Okay. It's all about protein.
What kind of meat?
So it's not necessarily about meat. What protein substitutes have you used?
Eggs.
That's nowhere near. It's nowhere near the amount of protein you need. That's like 7 grams of protein, and you probably are only processing 1 gram of each egg right now because you haven't eaten so much meat. Okay. So there is a protein powder out there called Sun Warrior Blend. Okay? And it's 20 grams of all natural vegan protein in it in every scoop.
Awesome.
So that is one way. My advice for you is to get 40 grams of protein every day for 20 to 30 days, and then decide if you want to go into meat. If you are going to go into meat because it's a choice that there's something in the process of consuming meat that does have a spiritual fulfillment to you, okay? Try fish one day. Just set aside. Thursdays is I'm allowing myself to be a no shame, blame, guilt of my process. I'm going to have fish, okay? Or the next Thursday, you're going to have prime rib, the perfect prime rib, one you've been slightly consciously drooling about in the background. Or a crab, or something else that you want to have, you want to enjoy, that you may want to have friends and family with who get to see you eat meat for a little bit. Joke with them, play with them, truly enjoy the meal, and the meal's not a chore. And I think this is why you're finding yourself challenged, that the meal is now a chore.
Correct, I do.
And it can't be a chore. It's got to have our love, joy, and prayer behind it, so we want to eat it and process it and do something with it. That is why so many people in the vegetarian area fail. Not because of the food, because it became a chore. There wasn't joy behind it. Got to have the joy. So what does it really take for you to get joy behind your food again?
For me, not having it be a chore, just to love my body and want to nourish my body and take that grand leap of dedication to my body.
Okay. So what has been your specialty while you have been not eating meat? What types of foods have you been making for yourself?
Well, the thing is I have recently moved back with my mother, and being on my own, I've was buying a lot of earthship products and powder, maca, their rice protein, and making banana shakes, banana peanut butter, cacao, maca, rice protein. I was making some awesome shakes, and I was just loving myself. And now that I'm back at my mother's, I guess I'm not loving myself. I slid backwards. I'm eating her foods, processed foods in nature. I don't feel comfortable for some reason to bust out my blender and all my bags and mess up her kitchen. So I've taken a back seat, but I do know a bunch of great recipes for myself.
Why don't you find a way? Why don't you find a way that you can cook with your mother? You're there, and then just be brutally authentic, honest with her. Mom, I love your cooking, but let's try using different ingredients. There is alchemy within cooking that you well know in your shakes. There has got to be something that you can create that is in the organic process that you and your mother could have a fun experience on that can become part of your regular process. Your creation between the two of you.
Okay.
Yeah. There are some incredible chef alchemists out there. Maybe starting to find one of those as an alchemical chef teacher. Maybe go to a chef class together. They're everywhere, all over the country.
Okay. Great. I'm going to take your advice on that powder. Can you elaborate on my career and how I do get reprimanded by spirit when I talk too much? Because I've been told through my dreams just to be quiet and just listen right now at this moment in time and not express and share my spiritual experiences, being that people aren't aware or they won't accept or they're not ready.
That is your own inner guidance telling you that you can't succeed right now. Because there is something wrong in your soup of creation. What's in your soup that's not supposed to be there? Is it too much salt? Somebody put some Tabasco sauce in there. It's too spicy to eat. You got to begin the disentangling process of what others think and project to what is your authentic truth you believe in. Think of it as two sides of a Ziploc bag. We are not the metaphor of the Ziploc coming together. There are still two sides to the bag. And when you undo the bag, separate the bag and cut all the sides off, it's two separate sides of the bag. And what you essentially got to do is peel off one side of the bag and realize that that is what was added to you by the projections of others.
Okay.
Separating that. Doing a form of sacred separation. And this involves telling your story to the fire, telling your story to the wind. Who I was when I was 9, 10, 12, 31. The goal is to get the synopsis of your whole life story with as much authentic, colored truth of who you are and what you are out there as an out loud, name it to claim it frequency. So that you can begin to truly separate what is others' impressions that will limit you from saying what you know versus your own limitations that are afraid of what others will think. In 2012, I was faced with that. I was given the word by Spirit to go public fast now. Here is the set of things that you should cover as a topic and synopsis. And it sat there looking at its watch, waiting for me. Until finally I said yes. On October 31st, 2012, I had my first show. By November 7th, 2012, I had 3 radio shows. Not just radio shows, as radio shows on radio networks. That's how fast it went for me. Interviews everywhere. And by the end of 2013, I didn't want to do those radio shows because they had become my limitation then. And this is where I wanted to fully self-produce. By 2012, December 21st, 2012, I led a in a 22 network marathon that was titled Nothing is Going to Happen Tomorrow. Think about that date, December 21st, 2012, when every teacher and guru of the world of science and mythology was saying the aliens are coming, you're going to be successful, domination, control, the cabal, it's all done. Not one of those motherfuckers were right. Okay? Not one. Do any of us go back to 2012 and see what's still on their blogs, calling what was fear bullshit? I made something that was called Nothing's Going to Happen Tomorrow 2012, 2013, and 2014, and continue to say nothing will happen tomorrow, the next year after that, the next year after that, and the next year after that, until you make it happen in yourself by separating from this fraud time, which is truly the distraction. But still being in this fraud time, discovering the beauty of soul families that are interacting around us, who are trying to do the same thing. So we come together as a collective of like-minded people, sharing the common moral code of do no harm to any sentient kind.
Right. And that was one of the reasons why I stopped eating meat. But
and it's okay to change your belief. It's okay. Right now, you know your body's in survival mode and you don't like it.
Right.
You don't like it. Change it. If that means eating beef, don't beat yourself up about it. Be selective so it's not, 100% fat-free beef, because that's the worst. That's what they sell at the Safeways and the Krogers and all that. 90% fat reduced. No, you need fat. That's how we convert the beef to our processes. If, for example, elk has so little fat on it, you could eat elk every day and actually die of starvation. Did you know that?
No.
The natives know this. The people that lived off the land knew this, that if you do not have fat in the meat, that the animal is not cultured and treated properly, you will actually starve. You could eat pounds of it every day and still die of starvation. Yeah. Take that into your crow and smoke it, people out there that have issues. Okay?
Okay.
I get so many people that are charged about the veganism argument, or the animal pelt argument. I wear a vest, and man, I don't know what's worse. The zealots about the vest or the zealots about that I said anyone should eat a single ounce of meat. And my team gets accosted by the emails, the messages. Oh my God, Andrew's wearing fur. Oh my God, he told someone to eat meat. No, I said to use your discernment in what's right for you, to get out of the survival mode so you can fully think for yourself and not allow zealots and martyrs to run your life.
Yes, okay.
Choose, choose, choose. Choose, choose, choose. Choose, 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 choose.
Yes, yes. Thank you for the clarification. Can you elaborate on my career?
What are you doing for a job now?
Tile. Right. Tile installation, tile repair, over 20 years. Left the union to be self-employed. Been self-employed for 15 years. Between 12.
You're tired 15. Of pitching your own jobs, aren't you?
Yes.
I think you're at a point where you got to hire a medium, somebody that can go and get the jobs for you, like a general contractor that you have a level of trust for. Maybe temporarily coming in as a subcontractor to someone else so that you don't have to do everything for a short period of time. So you could give yourself, some more time to yourself so that you could decide if you want to stay in that industry or you want to convert into something else. Now,
yes, I convert. I'm at conversion. I've done everything that you just said.
All right, so
and now I'm back on my own.
So I did construction for the longest time, and when I became a healer, learning Reiki, cranial sacral, and a bunch of other stuff, I treated a lot of the construction workers that I knew, and it was a very easy transition to me. It's a matter of valuing yourself correctly so you get the right amount of clients versus students versus patients. So my recommendation for you is to understand that you have just done 16 plus years of hands-on construction work that has had to learn how to snap tile lines, that has had to know how to make perfect squares or herringbone lines, because if your grout lines are off, you got to redo the shit, right?
Yeah, that's true.
You got to wipe off all the schmoo that comes on the top because they wanted a sanded grout with huge-ass grout lines. You have all of those skills that go in it. Guess what? Each and every one of those skill sets you learned about setting tile is just like peeling layers of armor off of a human being that's wounded and that needs to have their armor off. I see you as the potential of a very powerful healer because embedded into your hands is a mind-eye-heart connection for what the job is supposed to look like. Not through expectation, but through knowingness. Choose a healing class that you can put some time, effort, and energy into. There are all sorts. My first advice is to find something that's like a 6-week trainable class where maybe you can make up enough money to have 6 weeks where you're not working, where you might go and take a shiatsu point release class. Or go and learn level 1 or 2 of cranial sacral therapy. That does require studying of anatomy and physiology. Maybe discovering if there's a local college around you that does a 2-year or 3-year degree on traditional Chinese medicine. Reiki, quantum healing, quantum touch. Get as many modalities as you can until such a time you're saying, I'm no longer going to put my knee pads on and lay another frickin' piece of tile. I've had enough grout lines in my life. I've had enough, stuff fall off the ceiling and hit me in the head. And you're done. And you move on. And you transition your job. Just as if you had to do for 16 years, 20 job sites a year. No different. Each client's a new job site. That's why you're uniquely prepared already, as opposed to the yoga mom with 4 kids that wants to become a healer and has never had to change her sites daily, weekly, monthly, yearly. How many job sites have you been on in 15 years? 500? 1,000?
At least.
Yeah. That makes you so much more experientially prepared than others.
Okay. I'm following you.
Okay. Can you invest in yourself?
Right, and I believe that's why I'm back at my mom's house.
Sure. Because you need your mom's support as well as approval.
Ah. No. That's a different story.
Yeah.
Because I just had this conversation with a friend of mine, how I've been desiring intimacy with my mother, and I'm just not receiving no intimacy. My communication is very low, and no intimacy ever since for as long as I can remember. Never had really intimacy with my mother.
Well, try. Start with cooking.
Okay.
She cooked you 3 meals a day for your first 12 years? Cook for her. Be surprised what it'll do. Cook for her, seriously. Yeah. Make it a point.
Okay. It sounds, I'm like processing this, and it feels difficult.
Because right now it's a chore.
It feels like it.
Right.
And it shouldn't be.
Right. In construction terms, it's the big pile of trash that none of the laborers have cleaned up yet. And that's when a GC hires a laborer to clean up the big pile of trash that should have been cleaned up already. And you do that, you make that association. What's the pile of trash? Our inability to talk. How are you going to clean it up? Well, I'm going to hire a laborer, which is myself, to make dinner. Okay? And what happens when that big pile of trash is cleaned up with all the construction guys? They're like, all right, everyone, clean up your own shit.
Right.
Okay?
I like it.
All right, brother, I must move on to the webcast. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thank you, brother. Love you.
Love you too.
Talk to you soon.
Yes,
Bye-bye.
talk to you soon again. All right, everyone. Each aspect of expectation creates a limitation. It's not about what you think, it's about what you believe. And it's not a world of duality, it's a world of simulation. We have gone in depth into these processes. We have repeated this from webcast to webcast. Now I want people to take on a challenge. What expectations do you have from living the mystical life daily? What expectations do you have from me every time you come to these, or if you're new? List them. Discern what your immediate answer is. Discover what aspects of perception you are flowing through. Many are wondering right now, do I even have an expectation? Answer is yes. That the moment will continue and continue and continue, and that the unlimited point of view will unflow. That is the most basic form of expectation. And that is not inherently a bad thing. The moment-to-moment flow is what authentically we all want. You can use that form of expectation without a limitation if you understand the very nature of the flow of the reality that you're in. Many of you come to this webcast and are here listening, discerning, going through your process, going whatever is going on with you. That is your form of flow. There are times where we want to add to our flow, make it more potent for us that are observing it. So my challenge to you is to say, what expectations do you have out of your week right now? Separate of this webcast, the next 7 days, what are your expectations? Is there something you got to do with a husband or a wife? Something to do with the kids? Someplace to go? You want to do a ceremony? Separate what is an expectation versus something on your list to do. Because expectations are often not met, that have no repercussions if that thing that was not met is a sacred discipline of repetition with illumination. Doing the meditation teachings, recording your own voice, sitting on your own your own meditation area, listening to your own voice, pass on, is it emulation or emanation? Try that. What are your expectations for the week? Your expectations for the month, the expectations for the year. Begin to understand the difference between expectation and precognition. When you are engaging living the mystical life daily, you are engaging precognition. For expectation is the child's skill set. What ultimately will change people is the conscious application of the sacred. What is sacred? What is recreational? What is sacred recreation versus what is sacred practice? There are times that we must have sacred recreation as part of the skill sets that we are learning. There are so many people that come into spirituality with a stick up their butt and of seriousness so far that they will not enjoy their meditation. Guess what? If you're truly not smiling through your meditation without truly thinking about it, you're doing something wrong. Yeah, that's right. There are so many stone-faced meditators like they're taking a shit that won't come out. No, let go, relax, enjoy it. The same thing goes with prayer. People try to force out their prayers like a morning turd. I'm using this visceral way for you to understand. Cannot force prayers. Though at times when we're depressed, repressed, or obsessed, it is through the forcing of prayer that finally has a relief. Plop, water splashes on your ass, turd's done. And that has passed. So many people get stuck in the pushing of the prayer and not the after effect of the prayer. Okay? Prayer should be joy. It should be the joy of doing prayer. It is what will create your non-duality process, your hierarchical process, non-hierarchical process. So you're not stuck in your mediocrity of dreams. Now we finally got a lot of people here that are answering about the last caller. Thank you for all those that are engaging. Engaging your presence here now. I'm scanning the energy of the audience here. Just a second. There are times that humanity comes together in a micro collective. And that's what these Living the Mystical Life Daily webcasts are. A micro collective that is understanding we live in a placebo belief truth system. That's right. Placebo belief truth system. What you believe is what you create. How do you know what you're believing is true? Only you believe in it to make it true. Concepts are enough. You must believe and then act. We are connected to our universal wisdom. Faith is our direct link to the universal wisdom. Faith reminds us that we are more than we've heard, read, or studied. Faith reminds us that we only have to look, listen, and trust the love and wisdom of the universal spirit working through all of us. Faith does not require a belief in a religion. By learning to trust the love and intelligence working through you in all creation, this newfound trust transforms your perception and experience. You will find lessons and opportunities in each challenge. No matter what you feel or know, no matter what your potential gifts or talents are, only action brings them to life. Many of us understand concepts such as commitment, courage, and love, but we truly only know what we can do in the moment. Doing leads to understanding, and action turns knowledge into wisdom. Action teaches impatience to overcome both inertia and the impatience. By acting on our courage, clear intentions, and commitment, every action and inaction contains the seeds of its opposition. Prayer is a process of finding strength and wisdom and knowingness from the internal, eternal being you know you are. Many of you know you are more than you've heard, read, or studied. Prayer is virtually the same thing. It's knowing you on the fullest layers. Prayer is a way of making higher frequency friendships with the universal source working through all of us. Prayer does not need a religion or an esoteric system. Prayer can be no words or thousands of words. Prayer is a form of gratitude and love expressed from the divine co-creative self, manifesting a life walk that has known and unknown factors. Prayer assists us at making the unknown known by showing us how to get rid of fear or any other process that limits our ability to believe in our own self. Prayer is finding the integrity of heart-space truth, emanating unconditional love in the expressions of vibratory words to convey the essence of the I am to all that is, was, and will be. Process that. Process this. And know that at some point this processing of those words must come to an end, so that the next process goes through and the next process goes through. One of the biggest spiritual sicknesses I see through all of my clients and all of expressions is the not knowing when to stop processing. They process so much, they never know what not processing is. They are stuck as ever-present processors and miss the point of the experience of the mighty co-creative moment of now to live, leave, love, and burn and learn throughout the many expressions that are here. Thank you so much for being here today. I honor your journey. It's your time.
Each different bubble of reality is true.
A galactic historian is a person that looks at all the lines of dramatic karma.
Nudge, nudge. It's the Holy Grail.
Improvise. Mysterious.
It's counter psychic intelligence.
Why is DNA farming of this star cluster so important?
Because we do manifest our reality. We do create our reality.
you.